Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Octane's Oracle, where today we are going to be diving into another interesting topic, at least for me, something that I've been doing some research on and wanted to talk a little bit about today. So recently I have rewatched all 5 of the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies, and while part of that inspired me more so to buy the gate. I was going to buy the gate set anyway, the one with the T-Rex and the iconic gate from 2019. It is also mean that, as I watched each of the movies, I went and looked back at LEGO's impact on the series and all the sets that they've made between 2015 and 2022. I'm ignoring these studio sets for the purpose of today because those are more indirect tie-ins and I don't really believe they count. However, while some of you might expect that I'd want to talk about the new set, and trust me, I really do, been waiting for that Ford Explorer for a long time and I'm super excited to finally see it. I'm not going to be talking and gushing over that set today. I'm waiting for the other supposed 7 sets for the new movie to be revealed because I don't feel like I can fully talk about them without talking about the others. And I do have a lot to say about the new trucks and stuff as well. But for today, I wanted to focus on 2017 and 2018 in particular, because those were the direct movie tie-in waves. And I might talk a bit about 2019, 20, and 21 as well. However, my main focus is going to be 2015 sets, because the main discovery I made when I was re-looking over these sets, I rewatched all the speed builds, all of Jang's original reviews, and also did some of my own research as well. The biggest thing that came to my attention, at least, was that those sets are a weird blend. Now, what I mean by that is I think they're pretty much the prime example of sets stuck between the new modern era and the old style of building. Now, for those of you who don't know, I like to classify LEGO's development into sort of eras. There are some very clear and landmark achievements that you can see at certain points in their history, which sort of mark this new era where the set quality level is clearly very advanced. Now, I believe we're coming into what I'm calling a postmodernist era. Now, sets like the Titanic and Space Shuttle Discovery really mark the beginning of this to me, as their build experiences are just such a step above everything else. And I suppose the NES and typewriter are also good examples of stuff that falls into this. Previously, from about 2014, 2015 onwards, up until about 2020, 2021, we were in what I'm going to call the modernist era, where we had beautiful techniques, the introduction of dual molded legs, and the modern scheme of licensing. I think that really was our modern era of LEGO sets that begins around that time. The same introduction as the sequel trilogies, the last original trilogy wave, the modern licenses, where we had stuff like Simpsons, Disney Series 1, Disney Castle's a big one for me. The introduction of the Fairground and the modern modulars with Parisian, along with licenses such as Jurassic World, Nexo and stuff, really mark this modern age, and the route of Chima really starts to show the modernist era. And before that, we had a great time as well. I'd say that's one of the most iconic periods, is the period just before the modernist era, when we had all of those lovely licenses like Lord of the Rings, etc. But I think what really sets the era of 2015 to 2017 apart is probably the quality of the builds. Previously, in that 2011, 2012, 2013, and obviously earlier into the early 2010s and backwards, our build experiences were still great, but they were definitely lacking something in, I wouldn't call it sustenance, but actual detail. Facades were still fairly plain, using a lot of the wall panel elements and relying on stickers for details. Play features were in the simpler iterations, something that's developed a lot. Instruction manuals were still in that really awkward stage where they couldn't quite colour the pieces right, and I really don't know why. There were just certain themes where black would look grey, and etc. You know what I mean if you've bought any sets from that time. And also the other big change that occurred in this era were just interior details as well as the actual function and focus of sets really started to shift, I think. But that's almost a topic for another day. But really what I wanted to talk about is where the Jurassic Park sets, or should I say Jurassic World sets from 2015, fit into this mess, because I'm really not sure. So if we can compare them to sets that released around the same time. That's my main goal here. And I think one thing that I definitely noticed when looking at these sets was that they are definitely of the more modern build style, particularly if we compare them to stuff like Dino 2010 or 2015 or whatever the Dino wave that came before these Jurassic World sets. Is that yeah, they're very similar. There's a lot of overlap. Like particularly the T-Rex transport really stands out to me. It's pretty much a direct copy of another set. The obligatory helicopter, and of course the Indominus Rex paddock being very, very similar to the T-Rex one from like the year prior or 2 years ago when the Dino line came out in yellow, but now of course in the blue and white. And while these sets feel very similar, they do also seem to have this just upgrade, and I think that is no clearer than in the actual dinosaurs. Dinosaurs before this always looked a bit creepy. That was very much personified by the Dino 2010 line. I'm thinking directly of that really disturbing black T-Rex and the weird slimy purple raptor style creature. These were some really weird creatures that did not look like the dinosaurs that have such a level of kindness and yet viciousness and almost like animalism traits. They just didn't fit the style of the movies, and I think it's really great that we got updates to them. There are still ones that I think would be considered weird. I think the reuse of the Compsognathor mold, using the mold for the Compsognathor in that polybag set for Jurassic World was a weird choice, and I think that definitely still looks like something out of Dino 2010. The Raptors at this stage have that unique characteristics, but there's some weird disparity. I think blue looks the worst out of all of them. It's like they didn't quite know what they were doing, but Delta, Charlie, and Echo all look great. I mean, the printing on there was such an upgrade. The Dilophosaurus mold that was new also looks great, although comparatively to later versions, it still looks pretty bad. However, I have a soft spot for that green version. It was really, really awesome to see that kind of the frills. Really, just so cool, so iconic, especially to Jurassic World. But other new species were also introduced. We had the Indominus Rex, which looked fantastic, although again, like the Dilophosaurus, when we'd see that new version in 2020, it was just completely overshadowed. And you're going to notice that my pronunciation's also a bit off, particularly today because I can't talk properly, but also just in general, I have trouble with the dinosaur names, so don't come at me. The T-Rex looks exactly the same, and I think that's what really lends any set with the T-Rex, at least in the first 2 years or so, to just feel like any other set from a dino line, because that mold hadn't changed in absolute ages. And I think that was really, really clear. The Petratrodon, flying bird, also actually looked quite different to me. I know it was reusing the same mold, but it wouldn't be until they recolored him in the Fallen Kingdom world where I'd actually go, hang on a minute, that's a dino just from before. But that one in the Petrodon set was really good. I really like that set, actually. But we'll get on to the actual sets in specific in just a minute. But the one thing I wanted to talk about, particularly that came very clear when watching the speed builds, was they had a weird thing going on, like where technically, while still in its early fledgling state, these sets were definitely modern sets. You can very much tell just by the inclusion of more play features, and on sets such as the smallest two, the Dilophosaurus ambush and the Petrodon helicopter thing, where the build techniques are definitely modernist. You had snot work on that helicopter, something that was very rare up until this point. In fact, quite a lot of the builds used decorative snot and other things just to add detail, and this was something that was not common in the years before. I mean, one of the earliest examples I can think of is the Battle at the Black Gate from LEGO Lord of the Rings, where the gates were entirely snot built, but that was more of a one-off. We did not see a decorative snot such as what is seen on the back of the helicopter, where all these curved slopes are used to great effect. It's still one of the best looking helicopters to me, at least without the branding and such. So I still really like that design, and I think it's really showing of the modernist techniques. And also the same in the Dilophosaurus set for the roll cage. It's one of the smoothest looking Jurassic World vehicles, and that's saying something considering we've been going for at least 5 years now, and some of them still look atrocious. But we'll get to them as we take a look at the more modern sets. But I think now is the time to go through the sets. The design philosophies were there, but one thing we're going to keep coming back to and touching on is the inclusion of yellow. Now, this is something that's going to really bug me because yellow is used in the Jurassic World sets, at least this very initial wave, to mark like your hazard stripes or play features. But they also continue to use it for every single set in between. Like, they will use it to like for all their interior bricks. That's really, really clear on the Indominus Rex. They think it's like an accent color, and honestly, I'm going to be really, really harsh. It's one color too much for me. I cannot stand its inclusion. It's really, really bugs me. I don't mind when it's that hazard stripe print. There's got this 1x4 print where it's like black and white hazard stripes, but it really, really needs to be used in minimum, and it is not, and it bugs me. But we'll talk about that as we go through these sets, of course. So the first one up is the polybag with the little Consagnathor inclusion. I really think that that's actually really nice. I think that's a really nice polybag, not to mention, and also the play feature. Really stand out. That's something that we wouldn't have necessarily seen in years gone past or years before, and it's just really, really nice to see. Actually, I really think it works as it is. It's clever, it's simple, and it works effectively. It goes around the dinosaur's neck. That was the big thing I think that I really like about it, is the way it goes. I've talked about the dinosaur though before. Oh, I'm being told that it's actually a Gallimimus. Okay, would not have called that. Oh well then. I really think that dinosaur doesn't look like it's out of Jurassic World. This was in the early days of Jurassic World where the colour schemes weren't quite down yet, and I think this one looks a bit too cartoony to be considered realistic. The fate feature though really sells it, and the minimal use of yellow is about the only set that uses it effectively. The inclusion of the turkey thing is nice, and this is a really solid polybag to get dinosaur, to be honest. One thing I should mention, I guess, before we go any further is the colour scheme. I actually really like the colour scheme of these Jurassic World sets. The inclusion of like the Indominus scaling and this red is really cool. It's sort of nostalgic to me, really, and I really like it. Moving on to the other polybag, though, we had Dr. Wu, which is a weird inclusion. He comes in the biggest set. I guess it's nice to get him here, although I'm not sure really why. Literally every other character is almost more important. But he comes with the amber piece, which is also super iconic, and I really like the use of the Monster Fighter Moon Crystal here with the mosquito in it is really, really cool. And Dr. Wu looks good, as always, in there. Moving on up to the next set, we have the Pteranodon capture, which, as I've already mentioned, is a really standout helicopter to me. While it definitely pales in comparison to some of the more modern ones, I really like its style, its simplistic and its cheap price point. The snot techniques at the back really make this one stand out as definitely feeling like a more modern set compared to literally any other helicopter that came out at this time. You've got to bear in mind that this is the time we got the last proper City Square set from City, along with the little trash one on the back of the heavy haul cargo loader. And considering some of the molded ones that will come in the next couple of years when we look at the Fallen Kingdom sets, this one definitely stands out. I also really do like the minifigures inclusion here. As I mentioned, the Pteranodon does feel suitably modern, feels like a Jurassic World actual dinosaur. I really like the space inside the helicopter to fit two figures, as well as possibly more if you had them. I feel like you could fit at least two in the back. And the idea of it, like the little gun folding down, it feels surprisingly accurate to the movie, and that will be something that comes across when we look at every other set. Like, barely any of them are accurate. So to actually have this scene so well recreated, it makes me wonder what kind of information they got for the rest of the sets, because this one's so inaccurate and the others are so inaccurate. But Simon Mizrahi looks great. Sad about the actor passing away, of course, but the ACU Trooper also is a nice inclusion. Well done, LEGO, for sticking to the tranquilizer darts. Obviously, that's a big theme of Jurassic World, where they do trank a lot of things rather than do the murder. But it was also a big controversy with the Dino 2010 sets, where us in Europe are a bit too weak-minded for these giant American guns, and Dino 2010 had to be completely re-invoked to save the dinosaurs rather than murder them, because we're a bit more keen on that than you guys over there. But moving on, we have the Dilophosaurus ambush. To be honest, I own this set along with the Pteranodon capture. As I mentioned before, Dilophosaurus starting to look a bit dated, particularly with that dark tan one, or should I say olive green one that came in the Fallen Kingdom set. That's a definitive Dilophosaurus to me. However, I still do really like the moulding they did for this one here. The inclusion of the gyrosphere is something that they have unsurprisingly stuck with throughout almost all of the sets. It's a really fun play feature, I'm not going to lie. Shame they can't sit two, but it's something that I'm really, really glad they stuck with. One thing that I think was missing with this wave, and I'll touch on it a bit more with the big set, was an actual like proper gyrosphere station. It's one of the more like iconic of the ride setups, I think, for Jurassic World, and it was something that after playing the video game, which launched around this time, I think was really missing from the lineup. Play features here also really stellar. They didn't have to include the explosion feature on the back, and that is something that we'll talk on eventually when I talk about the modern sets. They didn't have to include that bump feature. Really, really nice. The inclusion of Hamada, although he's not actually named in this set, it's very clearly the lieutenant of the ACU troopers, is also really nice with his electro baton. And I go backwards and forwards with the Gray and Zach Mitchell. I think the ones they did in the modern sets were definitively better, and I know they got the names mixed up on the box, I think, back here, but I like the Hobbit hair. It's good enough. I wish we had short legs for him, to be honest, because he is really short. But the colour scheme here is also unparalleled. Again, yellow is being used in minimum for the headlights only, and that is great. This one works really well. It looks like a good cheap. I think it was one of our first with a roll cage, so that was very interesting. A couple of weird things that stand out to me here is the flick-fire missiles. We had spring-loaded by this point. The stud shooter was around. 2014, the AT-AT from that year had spring-loaded shooters, and I believe they'd be introduced in green this year with the Rebel sets. So why did we use the inferior flick-fire missiles? Because they didn't work. They were atrocious. That's just a little side point I have to bring up. But including the hook on the front as well, there's lots of playability here. They really did go a bit extra, I think, here in comparison to some other sets. And those modern building techniques are, again, really apparent, not only with the roll cage, but the use of blue wrenches for the side of the windscreens. Most sets up until this point would never have done that, and I think that really shows. So again, this set really showing the modern techniques while doing a couple of really archaic things, such as the inclusion of flick-fire missiles, really showing that these sets are really trapped between two eras. And then moving on to the Raptor Rampage. Again, this one's a weird one for me. It's not a set I actually own, but there's a couple of really strange things here. Again, with the source material, they were told that there was a vet unit and that the dinosaurs would be wearing headgear. In fact, they went to the trouble of making that little camera mold to put on Blue and I believe it's Echo's heads. But they made the vet unit, didn't include the kids, and stuck a giant gun in the middle. What? And actually, just going off that again, they have the flick fire. It's here in this set. What were they thinking? They knew that the other ones didn't work, so they included the spring-loaded shooter, but it just looks trash. Oh, it pains me. It really is, because look, some sets have the new missile, some sets don't. Obviously, this set is clearly inspired by the Boxer. You've got Owen Grady and the motorcycle as well, and those look great. The vet vehicle, I'm torn. I like the fact that we have it. I feel like it really needs an update, though. Definitely needs an update. There's a couple of bits that really, really stick out to me. The 2x8 plate, should I say, on the sides. Where's the detailing? You proved as early as 2014 with the Fairground Mixer that you could detail the sides, and you chose to just stick a plate that looks really ugly on the side. Don't get it. Also, another problem that I have with a lot of these Jurassic Park sets that really became a thing in Fallen Kingdom is what I'm going to dub the I'm a monster truck syndrome, where why are the wheels so low down? It feels like the wheels should just be one technical to higher. They feel ridiculously low to me. I don't know what it is, and this is something that I really, really noticed when I was watching the speed builds for this. But the wheels just look so low, and you can see so much of the interior, and it's weird. They don't need to be that low. It's not a monster truck. Raise them up. But I actually quite like the front of this cab. It's one of the earlier examples again of front of cab detailing. You've got all of those layers with the nice lights and the grille plates, and actually if you look under the front rear arches, they put gold studs to represent like suspension or inner mechanics by the front wheels. That's really cool. That's a modern detail that we'd see in a 2020 set, and it's here in a 2015 set. And yeah, I look at the back of this vet unit and the thing looks like trash. I really like the inclusion of the monitors. That's really, really nice. But I really cannot get over, I know it's a boxy build, but there's this really ugly gap between the unit and the back of the truck. But in the movie, it's one big unit with actual window that goes through to the back, so I don't understand that. I understand the idea of having to include guns and whatever because set's got a set, I guess. It's got to suit the small kids. But there's a couple of weird things I don't. The inclusion of the rails on the inside, why couldn't they have just had the seats or include the kids or do something accurate? They clearly weren't given accurate source material. But yet, at the same time they were, because they were given the Raptor headset, the idea of the vet unit being really prevalent. They've put Claire in the set, and they've given Owen his motorcycle, so I really don't understand it. But figure selection's all right. I think all of these figures appear in other sets, so it's nothing really big. The big draw to me for this set, and while I probably will end up getting it eventually, is the blue and more specifically Delta Echo Charlie, whichever one it is. That's the big draw. The other two came in a much nicer set that we'll touch on later, and that I've touched on before as a white whale. But I definitely prefer the modern blues. I hadn't quite realised until I looked back how weird that one looks. I don't know what it is, why they've highlighted the colours so much, but I don't understand also why they made the head mould. Charlie looks fine, by the way, before I get distracted again. But the head mould, what is going on there? Why did they bother? It doesn't feel necessary. That's a one-use mould that they wasted, £30,000 on making, and I really don't understand it. It doesn't feel necessary to me. It feels in a really weird spot. But moving on, because I guess this is starting to drag now, but we're going to keep going because that's how we like to do things here. T-Rex Tracker, the biggest made-up set of all time. Not quite, but this definitely falls into the culprit of, hey, we had this design lurking around for Dino 2010 or Dino 2013, 2013. Let's just use it, I guess. And this is my first culprit for what were you thinking with the yellow? Let's get that one out of the way first. The yellow highlights on the front of the truck work fine. I don't mind the yellow on the cage because they look quite minimal. But when you take the cage off the truck, which is a play feature, the amount of ugly yellow that could have been literally any other colour, literally could have been blue, grey, light grey. You could have even done it in red and I don't think it would have looked as bad. But this inclusion of excessive yellow, which you can't see in this image, is bizarre. Once again, another example of using the spring-loaded shooter. Again, why? Again, it brings up the question of why we're using the flick files in the other set. And then apart from that, let's talk about the actual build. It does actually look like a fairly modern build. You've got some really interesting details there. The idea of making the rims of the tiles out of the tires even out of the 2x3 modified tile is really, really modern. We wouldn't see that again until Axel's mobile fortress carrier Nexo Knight set. And the idea of actually putting the T-Rex in the vehicle is really nice as well. T-Rex still looks a bit on the cartoony side for me. Definitely doesn't look like a Jurassic World T-Rex, although it sort of does as well. Inclusion of little monitoring equipment and stuff is also very interesting. It's nice inclusion again. And the figures, another ACU Trooper and Vic Hoskins are the standouts. I don't know who this Owen Grady ripoff is. It's very clearly like they saw the prototype of him on the motorcycle and was like, well, we got to include another one of him. But I don't recognise him. I watched the movies the other week. Don't recognise him. I really like the tube detailing on the side of the unit as well, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good the set is, it doesn't exist. They were asked to make a set about the movie, and this looks more like a Fallen Kingdom set in a weird colour scheme than anything else, and it does look a bit weird to me. Like, I know, I'm going to praise it, it does look good overall, but when I was watching this speed build, something just felt uncanny about it. I think it is just these large cage vehicles. They have to be so tall to accommodate the dinosaurs that they really, really suffer. But overall, pretty good. A solid set, at least solid enough. Just really, really strange. The fact that it doesn't exist, I think, is the main culprit. But we're seeing that prevalence of the yellow, good build techniques, but yet trapped in this old era. I don't understand it. And then we move on to the flagship of the set. And I haven't forgotten about the retail exclusive. We're doing it last because it is a retail exclusive. But the next one is, of course, the Indominus Rex Breakout, and this is obviously the biggest one of the wave. Let's start with the dinosaur. The Indominus Rex looked absolutely perfect up until we realised that it actually should be grey and that the 2020 version really knocked it out of the park. Other inclusions, such as the gyrosphere, also work really well, and that helicopter sucks. It has to be one of the worst ones, again, with the flick fires! And the obsession with yellow, such as the yellow control panels. This is going to be the set where we really see the yellow just exist way too much. The helicopter looks utterly trash. I understand it's got to be small to fit in this set, but I would have much preferred we didn't get one. They include the helipad and was like, buy the £20 set and we can stick it on the top, because that's very clearly what this is inspired by. They knew that Ms. Rani's helicopter fitted on the top. I don't understand it at all. The gyrosphere, that's nice, I guess. Getting another one is nice, but the station, what is that? The gyrosphere did not launch from the Indominus Rex paddock. I don't understand why that was necessary. They should have just put the gyrosphere in and just kept it at that. The thing went nowhere near the paddock, and I don't understand why it launches. It's weird. It's really weird combination to me. I don't understand it. Again, with this random Dino Keeper inclusion, as for the figures, if we're jumping all over the place, bizarre. They make him look like he's supposed to be Owen, but he's not, and he's not Barry because Barry exists in the other sets. So I don't know who he is because he's not Vic either. Another ACU trooper, always nice inclusions. Henry Wu, which sort of makes the polybag redundant, I guess. The Mosquito's also back, and Zach Mitchell, he's all right. He looks probably the better looking out the two kids. I didn't mind the kids in the movie. I thought they were all right. But then we move on to the actual paddock, which is a really iconic set. I love the way it's been portrayed in these images, but one thing that came across when watching the speed build is there's just like one too many colours in this thing, and I don't know quite which one they would have cut, but between the blue and the dark grey, which are clearly their main colour scheme, but then they've got the white accents, the light bluish grey, the trans orange, the yellow, which for some reason is still here, then you've got the dark green of the crane, which works okay, but then you've also got lots of more light blue, and the green on the floor. I don't know. I think it might be the green. I think I would have preferred if they just didn't put any grass, or like kept the grass to only the plants rather than the floor. I don't know. There's one too many colours here. I'm not here to objectively to look at that. But the design here is clearly the best paddock we've ever gotten. I don't think they've even beaten this one to this day. I'm just wishing they would do a modern one. Where the yellow problem really comes in is you've got all of this lovely yellow from the trans yellow highlights, and then you spot things like in the corner, there's yellow. On the gates, there are yellow warning symbols. They didn't need that. And on the back of the gates, there is so much yellow. It's just so off-putting, and I don't understand it. Play features wise, if we move on quite quickly, really love the gates. Nice and big and sizable, and they open. Nice play feature, definitely a modern play feature. The push feature for the gyrosphere is fine, I guess. It just feels weird. Crane, good. That's added playability, makes sense, feels good, really, really nice, solid. Weapons rack, okay. Breakable wall, good. Really nice again. Feels like a successor to Whitecap in that regard. And the cracked wall and all the rest of the jazz is all okay. The shaping is nice, I guess. It works. It does its job. And the lab at the top just feels cramped. But then again, one weird thing. There are two viewing areas, and I don't understand it. The cracked one's obviously the iconic one where the scenes actually take place. But what was the point in the other one? Why couldn't you have... Instead of making this giant indent underneath the lab, why didn't you put the wall there and then put a little storage space beside? You could have like the weapon rack back there, and it would make more sense, and do something else around the front. It just feels like a bit of wasted opportunity. But I think no matter how modern this set looks, it is definitely starting to show its age. I think it's definitely a set of its time. It's very big, it's very nice, don't get me wrong, but definitely starting to show its age. There are a couple of things here. I think it's like the roping that's being used. The yellow really, really bugs me. The helicopter design, and just how plain the walls have to be to get such a sizable set in 1,000 pieces. It means we're using a lot of these grill pieces, a lot of these large prefab stuff, and so on. But then you've got the opposite end, where they've got modern techniques. The inclusion of the candy piece in swirl to add helicopter detail at the top. The idea of the gate actually being able to open requires heavy snot work and really good use of slope tiles. The build for the lights at the top also looks really great, along with a load of other things. It's a really good set. It's really just shows the turning point where they're just stuck between their capability and this upgrade that they must have been doing as a company. And it really looks good, but at the same time, it feels old. I think that's the bottom line. It still looks really good. I think that's nostalgia speaking, but it looks old now. And I really don't know what else to say. And then there's the retail exclusive. I'm going to try and keep moving at pace because I do actually want to cover the Fallen Kingdom sets today, and we are already going for it for as far as time goes. But I'm not repeating myself, and I'm having fun. So the one person that watched this, hi, how are you? Raptor Escape. One thing I love about this set is that they included the other two Raptors. That is a big deal. They didn't have to do that. They could have just left it at Blue and Echo or Charlie or whatever we're calling him and not include the other two. But I appreciate that. That's like the inclusion of all of the Fellowship across the sets to me. It's really nice that they did it. They were two important dinosaurs that, yes, are dead. We'll never get them again. And I'm just excited that they actually did get to be here. The set itself, perfect. This is probably the most modern out of this initial wave, I think. There's a lot here that really does remind me of more modern sets, such as the snot work on the front of the gates, the fact that the gate can be open and held up, which is something I cannot say for the 2018 version. How they managed to squeeze such a big space out of a small parts budget is beyond me, but including that scene where the vet, or whatever he's called, falls from the upper little platform like he does in the actual raptor cage, and while it doesn't look like the raptor cage at all, I really love that that's included based off the scene in the movie. Colour scheme, nice and minimalised. I mean, those yellow studs are still here. You were so close. Oh, it really bugs me. And the red as well, my Technic. Oh dear, so close. But besides the 7 yellow pieces that shouldn't be there, the colour scheme is much more balanced, keeping it pretty much entirely to light bluish grey and blue, with a little bit of dark bluish grey and black in there, which are fine accent colours, and the trans orange being the only transparent highlight is also very welcome. The use of the 1x4 plates is also pretty good, and as I mentioned, the gate can stay up. You've got lovely Raptor stickers and Jurassic World symbols on the top. The ATV is a nice inclusion for kids, I guess, but I'm really trying to praise this set. It's my favourite of the wave, beyond the two small stuff, but they've included the flick fire again. Just don't include it. Or include the trank gun like you did with Barry. But Barry looks great. The vet looks great because he's obviously based off the one that drops into the raptor cage at the beginning of the movie. Could have benefited from Owen, but then again, that probably would have put the price up. I really do like the play features included here. They feel a bit more modern and creative, a lot like the more modern play features that we do see in sets from Jurassic World and in general. But the idea of the dinosaur nudging it to make it fall over, that's really clever. And the feeding tray is just infinitely more interesting to me than something like the crane, I think. And I think that's just the bottom line. It's just at a smaller scale for its price. If the Indominus was this price, it is more impressive, I think. Obviously, the Indominus one is cooler because you get the really cool doors, and I think that one comes down to the doors sort of save that set for me. But the Raptor Escape, really, really solid, and this one definitely feels more like a 2016, more like a modern set to me than anything else. And I still can't quite put my finger on why, but it definitely looks more modern to me, and I think that's my bottom line. Really, really love the set. As I mentioned, these Raptors look infinitely better, particularly the orange one. He looks like a much more modern design, so I really don't know what was up with Blue. But that's all with 2015 sets, and I hope you can see what I mean. I know I'm sort of rambling, but you've got these really standout elements that are just dragged down by some really archaic 2013 practices. They really are the definition of sets stuck between time. No other 2015, 2014, or 2016 sets are stuck like this, because in 2014, you either had the majority of sets which felt like they were from the early days, but then you had a couple of stellar examples, such as the Star Wars wave, which went above and beyond to feel modern, like the 2014 8080. Then you've got 2015 sets, which mostly just sort of felt like they were still 2014 sets or 2013 sets, with the exception of these Jurassic World sets and a couple of other exceptions that obviously felt more modern, like Elves, but Jurassic Park being very clearly stuck in the middle. And then we jump forward to the 2016 sets, and it's all modern. It's all cylinders firing with the Disney Castle and Nixonites and stuff, feeling like the modern age sets. But then we move into 2018, and things almost are completely different. It's shocking how different they are with just a 2-year gap. And I'm only going to cover the Fallen Kingdom sets. We'll cover the modern sets at some other time, or maybe I'll change my mind in the next 10 minutes. One take, as we always do. And one last thing I'd like to mention about the 2015 sets is my intentions. I want the Gallimimus trap one. I find that that's cool. I have the Petrodon and the Dilophosaurus. I want the Indominus cage and the Raptor cage. The Raptor cage is one of my biggest white whales of all time, because it's another one that I was actually going to buy that I missed out on. But the Raptor cage is top. Then the Indominus one I do also want. And I guess the Vet one just because it is a scene from the movie. But moving on. 2018. There's a couple of ones I'm not really going to talk about here. The Baby Velociraptor playpen, I have a lot of connection with. I actually managed to find these on discount. Really, really super cute. Love it. I love the baby mold for the dinosaurs, and seeing Baby Blue in that movie is good. I'm not as a fan of it as the original movie-wise, but I still really do like the movie, I suppose I should mention. But this was, of course, the Fallen Kingdom wave. And the first set we've got here is the Pteranodon Chase. The Pteranodon in this set really feels to me like a Dino 2013 dinosaur, and I realised that they finally got on the earthy colour schemes, and I was being harsh on them for not including more earthy colour schemes and making them seem too cartoony before. But I don't know what it was about the Pteranodon, but the Pteranodon in Dino 2013 was this colour, so it's just like the modification of the ACU to be InGen is weird because they didn't actually look like this, but I guess I'll accept it. It was a nice army build, but still compatible, more grittier figure. I feel like they went grittier. I feel like this is just edgier, right? Like these are just edgier sets. That is literally it. Sorry, getting distracted. Moving on. Pteranodon Captor 2018 was the weird phase with the circular nets. Still don't understand that. But of course we have the return of the bright yellow annoyance. With the bright yellow spring-loaded stud shooter thing, or should I say net shooter. This set also focused heavily on eggs. Don't understand it. There were no eggs in the movie at all. I guess the Lego's got a Lego, but I'm talking about the vehicle. This is, when I was watching the speedbuild, disappointing to me. One bag for £20. Real overpriced. This is where they were more overpriced, I think. However, I have to praise it where praise is due. The colour scheme is a lot more refined. We finally got rid of this weird, combination. We went for the dark blue, which I think works better as far as, the more militaristic vehicles that this movie and it looks like Dominion will introduce as well. The inclusion of the containers on the back is nice. However, once again, we have the I'm not a monster truck syndrome, where these wheels are one stud too low, and I don't understand why. It does not have to be this tool. I don't understand why it's like this. And that is something that we'll see with the Fallen Kingdom sets. They all just want to be monster trucks. Stigma Breakout. Talking about dinosaurs. Love him. He's adorable. I really like him. I really want him. The Pachy, as I will call him, because he's pretty much the Pachycephalosaurus. I really like that mold. His eye, he looks so cute. And the head particularly is interesting. I really need to get that dinosaur. Henry Roo makes an appearance, and to be honest, I think I like him here more instead of the 2015 ones. His face print just actually looks more natural instead of caricatured, and not wearing gloves is always a benefit. Another Trooper, again, sure. This one grew on me when it initially came out. I didn't really like it. It definitely doesn't stand up as well to me as the Raptor Escape, which still feels more like a Dino Pen. This definitely feels more like a basement at Lockwood Manor, which I guess is why it's grown on me, because I realised that that's actually important, whereas when I first saw the sets, I didn't know about the Lockwood Manor stuff, so it didn't make as much sense. Why is the pen so industrialised? So yeah, it looks like the basement. It did a good job at that. It's just not as interesting to me. There's no play features here, apart from he can headbutt the door. And also the gate lifting one is just, it doesn't stay up. There's no latch. Where's the latch? It would have taken 3 pieces. I don't understand why it's not included. That feels like a missed opportunity. I do like the more refined colour scheme, though. I have to say, if that's one thing that the Raptor Escape failed on, is it still felt a bit chaotic with its colour scheme. Whereas here, again, we're refined to our greys, dark blue, and black, and it works. No more awkward yellow. We just have the Transio, and that's good. They finally got rid of it. Trans blue window looks okay, and the lab sequence is nice. I like the idea of that play feature is alright. The knocking of the table, that's really cool. And again with the screens for the dinosaurs and stuff, that all works. And I'm not faulting it. It is a good set, particularly because of that dino and stuff. But I just don't like it as much as the original because there's just not as much interest going on, and I think that's a big deal. Need that extra play feature. Where's the knock the guy down from above kind of play feature? Eat Mr. Woo or whatever. Mentioning it as we get further on, the boxes did a weird thing this wave. They tried to make it seem as if you could combine dinosaurs to make them look like genetic hybrids, and I get that that's an interesting marketing ploy, but it's got to be one of the weirder ones that Lego's done, and it's all right. It's just weird to me. Moving on though, Blue's Helicopter Pursuit. Starting with the dinosaurs, this blue is infinitely better than the others. I think it just looks so much better. I cannot remember the other blues off the top of my head, so we may see a better one still, but this blue, definitely better than the 2015 one. I would rather have him and the other three than I would have the blue from the original wave. But moving on, we also have Owen, another trooper, and that dino guy that I don't remember the name of, the one that likes to take their teeth, who's awfully and mean. And then, of course, we had a helicopter, which I really hated when it first came out. It's grown on me a bit. I've got to say, I do appreciate the snot detailing underneath the rotor blades and the inclusion of 3 seats, a play feature to spin it from the bottom, the 6x stud shooter, the searchlight, and the little space at the back for the little container for the eggs is really nice. I do like that. And the idea that you can pick up the container as well, that's really cool. Although I wish that was on a string winch rather than a ball joint. That just felt weird to me. But it's an overpriced helicopter that uses the front molded piece. I definitely don't like it as much as the original blue one, but that could be nostalgia talking. The colour scheme here, once again, is better. And actually, I quite like the little 6-wheeled ATV thing. It sort of feels nice to me. And the paddock, actually, that's one of the more unique of the Raptor Trap kind of things. So it's definitely grown on me a lot. Still not set I'd buy, but definitely better than when I originally saw it. It's good. It's goodish, I guess. Carnotaurus Gyrosphere Escape. Oh, we're getting tired. Dinosaur Carnotaurus, cool. Don't care about it as a species, but Lego Carnotaurus, cool with its little stubby arms. It's good. I like it. Again, Return of the Gyrosphere, again, just wasn't really in the movie. But I guess you can put it here. I guess that's a thing. Other dinosaur was the baby. Again, didn't really appear in this movie, but okay. Minifigure-wise, we have Owen, Claire, and Franklin. They sort of messed up Franklin. He doesn't really look like Franklin. Franklin was terrified in practically the whole movie. It doesn't really look right. Gyrosphere is good play feature inclusion. And the weird nature build, I go backwards and forwards on this one. It doesn't look like a great build, but when it's finished, and this angle I'm looking at in the render and the speed build, it looked alright too. There's just a bit too much technic for my liking in here. Also, we never actually saw the Gyrosphere Station. It's like they were obsessed with the idea of the Gyrosphere Station, but didn't do it properly until 2020, and it's really weird. But actually, it looks alright. I'll accept that as overgrown island build, and I do like the lava play feature as well. It feels tacked on, but it also feels much better than the truck build. I'd rather buy the right of that image than the left of this image, which is just weird looking. The truck is very clearly trying to be a monster truck. Again, just like the vet, it's one stud too low. And again, the unit has a gap between the back and the front. I think the colour scheme here is nice and refined. The black's a bit much for me, I think, but I do like it. I like the hole in the roof to stick a soldier through, except for we don't have a soldier included to stick through, because there's no way that Owen and Claire are piloting this vehicle. I'm going to pretend like the trailer doesn't exist, because it's trash. The idea of having a gyrosphere launch trailer. When were the gyrospheres used as a launch? You have a launcher. You have a launcher in your gyrosphere decayed shed. You didn't need one on the truck. They're not a piece of equipment that they brought to the island. Don't understand it. And the back, I like the ribbing on the top of the back of the truck. And actually, I have to praise them. They did do side detailing underneath this time. They used the sloping piece, although it literally as basic as they could get. And the colour scheme's refined and whatnot, and the vet station's nice, I guess, but it just feels like a mishmash. It doesn't all fit together. I would prefer to buy the right of the set for £20 cheaper and just get rid of the vehicle, because it's got to be my least favourite vehicle overall. But regardless, moving on to the next set to take a look at, and of course that is the Indoraptor Rampage at Lockwood Estate. And again, this one, I kind of like it, I think. One big thing, just initially off the bat, just staring straight out the picture, you're going to hate me for it, the door. I hate the door. I cannot stand that studded door. It does not work for me. I really do love the inclusion of studs on build, but that probably has to be my biggest grievance with the entire set, and it's that door. But ignoring that, getting out of the way, figures here. Now, what makes this really, really stand out to me is it pretty much like voids the rest of the wave for me. I mean, we've just talked about all the other sets, right? So figure-wise, who do we get? We get our main villain, we get Claire, we get Owen, we get the judge, who looks like a great figure to me. You get Maisie, who I guess is the main character, and the hunter, as well as Blue. The blue one is key because Blue only otherwise comes in that one set that I already expressed not hugely loving the Blue's helicopter pursuit. So it's really nice, particularly for me, that if I had to get one set, I could get pretty much everything I'd ever need for the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom movie in this set, obviously, apart from the Stumaglock and the Carnotaurus, if I wanted those actual vehicles and characters. And I suppose you've got the two side characters as well, which you wouldn't be able to get. But the majority of everything I care about of the movie is in this set. Now, we also get the Indoraptor, which, while I don't particularly love in the movie, it's just a bit weird to me, it is a very cool Lego dinosaur. It channels major Dino 2010 vibes. You get the motorcycle, that's cool. Obviously, the big thing here is the house, and that is looking great, especially for a Lego Jurassic World build. Not that their builds are below par, but it's a nice, chunky landscape that you get for a decent price. I think there's good value to be had here. Now, the interior, I go backwards and forwards on. I really, really do love the inclusion of, like, the sort of like library dinosaur display room. I love the fact that you've got the display cases. I wish there was maybe some brick built stuff in there, and particularly I love that you've got the Triceratops. Having the roof falling feature as well, where you're supposed to be able to drop the dino through, is cool and all, but it's just not big enough. And I know that they obviously are limited by scale, and the Indoraptor's absolutely huge, but you cannot recreate that scene, so it sort of voids it to me, like, why do you have it? Also, he just cannot fit through the balcony doors. I know it's a minor issue, but still. I do like the knockable over furniture. You've got the flower pots and the little vases on the ground floor. However, once again, it does feel like a bit of a misuse of space. I feel like there could have been literally anything in that. You should have done a jail cell. Like, there should have been a jail cell in here. Because of the amount of people and dinosaurs they lock up. So it would have been really nice if they'd just made better use of some of these second floor spaces rather than just have them as Indoraptor grabbing points. Even if it was simple as just having something which you could like a mini catapult or something you could throw at the Indoraptor. I don't care about the accuracy with that kind of play feature because it's subject to the main thing. Another one that really strikes me as strange, I guess, is the drain pipes. I really like them. It's really nice that they're included, but I cannot think of another set where they have dedicated, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 18, over 36 of a piece just to create such a minor detail that isn't really noticeable. But you know, I appreciate it. It's kind of cool. I just find it strange that they bothered. It doesn't feel like a necessary thing. So no, I really like it. It's sizing, it's shaping. It's really nice as a facade. It's not something we see as much in Lego anymore. Characters are really outstanding, and overall it's definitely a positive set, just clearly not positive enough for me to actually pick it up at its release. There were just a couple of minor grievances that I think hold it back. But overall, I do love what they were going for, along with, in particular, that ground floor. The lab's not even worth mentioning. But we've got to keep this moving. No one is watching at this point, let's be real. The Dilophosaurus outpost attack. Now, this is probably my favourite out of the entire wave for Fallen Kingdom. We already know from previous things that I do love my... I guess, what do we even call them? Dinosaur pens. And while it strictly isn't a pen, it's more of like the gate to the island. I do have a lot to like about this. The first thing is it's basically a battle pack. I mean, unironically, you have 3 of these not ACU troopers, and it's kind of cool. I really like the fact that you get 3 of them to populate your wall defense thing. It sort of feels like an expandable set. I believe they did advertise that with this, if I remember correctly. But while we're talking about figures, it's the Dilo. It's got to be the Dilophosaurus. He's my favourite of the Dilophosaurus. He looks exactly like the one that went for Nedry in the original Jurassic Park movie. I love the colour scheme. I love the yellow highlights, the olive green. He's that more realistic colour that the other one couldn't give me. Getting baby blue is a nice inclusion as well. Not to mention the actual gate build as well. I love the use of the wires there. That was the first time they did that for the new line of Jurassic World sets. The little colouring, especially with those lime green plants, it's something I love doing in my own mocks, so unsurprisingly I love here. The crane works here, I think, in comparison to the Indominus set, and of course you get all the crates and stuff to go over. I love the gate feature. That's really unique as well, with the fact they can normally open, but then as a Dilo you can sort of push them and they fly backwards. And the same is true for the guard tower. It's nice to have that explodable wall function, as well as a little storage space, and the watchtower is a really cool build as well. Overall, it just feels like an edgier wall segment, and I sort of love the scheming that they're going for. As I mentioned, the Dilophosaurus really sells it for me. It was cheap, expandable, and it looks good. It really does, it has that vibe for me. I really do love it. And then there's another one which I love less than I maybe should. Now, don't get me wrong, the Jurassic Park Velociraptors Chase is a great set. It is the perfect small addition to bring back some of the nostalgia with the Jurassic Park original movie, and I think it's equally as displayable as the other Jurassic Park sets, and obviously we've got the new one coming this summer, and to this day it still remains the only way to get Lex and Tim not muddy, which is weird, I guess. Inclusion of the classic Velociraptor just is very nice. I really do like that. That's really cool to me. And of course, there's a couple of really nice prints on Alan and Ellie as well, although having the gate sort of avoids that for me. I really don't care about this set as much now that I have the gate with the expanded minifigures. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still want Lex and Tim, although my desire for this set's been lessened. Even now I can get the muddy versions, which to be honest I don't mind that much. And the Velociraptor is pretty much the biggest draw to this set. Now, I do really love the computer screen where it's got Nedry and the you didn't say the magic word thing, and all of the little details are great, but to be honest, I think I would have preferred them to take a slightly different approach. It's really playable and it's really nice to have these 3 different rooms, but they don't quite feel completed enough. I feel like you could have extended the kitchen wall just a bit. It doesn't quite feel right to me to have it so exposed into the control room. The control room feels very empty, with most of the space being taken up with the iconic door. I almost would have preferred if they just focused on that. And while I know the embryo room is close by, I don't remember it being that close. Like, there's a lot of good things going on here. It just feels a bit cramped for my liking, and usually I'm all for cramped sets. There's just some stuff holding this back, and it hasn't got any better as the figures have become less exclusive, and, well, I just like the gate more. I think you get more better value there. But it was still, in 2018, where we didn't have anything else, it was wonderful. And then the final exclusive for this wave was the T-Rex Transport. And can I say, absolutely wonderful job on the front of the truck. I really like the use of the stickers there. I like the colour scheme, I like the shaping. But the further back we go, the more it falls apart. Now, once again, I'll give them the credit. They did do the greebling on the side this time, which is something I complained about a lot with the 2015 wave. And of course, for this time, the wheels are actually low down. We are not suffering from monster truck syndrome. Until we look at the T-Rex Transport, where that thing is definitely suffering from monster truck vibes. And when you actually attach the two together, it looks so ridiculously tall. It is insane. I genuinely cannot give it any more credit than that. Also, the back of the cab falls apart as soon as they start using black. I really don't know what was going on with that design. So when I first watched the speedball for this recently, I was excited. I really like the side build with like the blood transfusion setup, I think is what that's supposed to be. You've got the T-Rex, you've got the cool ACU, not ACU troopers, even with like the bandana and the stud shooters, everything we wanted and it went wrong before. And then you start building the truck and wow, you've got this nice shaped hood and you've got these actually really nice looking sticker details and you've got the greebling on the bottom and then you've got random black fleeces. Why weren't they blue? Like, there was nothing that said they needed to be black at all. And the same goes for the truck. You think it's starting off so positively, and then when you actually finish the thing, it just looks so absurdly large next to the front of the truck that I just can't justify it. It's really strange. You do get the Zia in this one, which is nice. I do like her Legoized torso. That's very cool. And the fact that the T-Rex fits in the container is definitely a plus, and it definitely reminds me of the boat from the movie, and I definitely do think this one is better than the T-Rex Transporter from 2015. I do like the dino colours a bit more here. They do stand out a bit more. But just overall, like, I just don't. It doesn't look right to me. I'm going to be ignoring the sets that came in the foil bags. However, there are technically 2 more exclusives. You had the set that is actually named Exclusive T-Rex with the Exclusive T-Rex that was released as not a promo. I really don't know where this thing released, but it does look cool. The idea being that he is a hologram. You had this exclusively printed T-Rex that just shone out of a base. It's really simple, but really cool. I do kind of want one, but I know they're impossibly rare to find. And then, of course, there was the Bricktober pack, which was weird. This was based off Fallen Kingdoms, so they just gave them an exclusive to just shove Ian Malcolm in here. I guess it's to make up for not including him in the Visitor Centre build, or Control Room build, or whatever you want to call that first Jurassic Park set. And I still believe that this is probably the definitive version of Ian Malcolm, despite him just not having leg printing and his belt being half cut off. It's definitely my favourite of the 3 versions we're getting so far, because I don't understand the rain version at all. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I love the gate version, except for he hasn't got his glasses. That's my one problem. So his headpiece is ideal here. The rest of him, so much so. Claire probably looks the best she did in the Fallen Kingdom wave here, although I'd say that her appearance in the 2015 wave and waves after this are significantly better, and I'm really not sure what's going on with Chris Pratt's face. That one definitely deserves to be an Andy figure from Parks and Rec. However, the torso does look good. I think I'd just prefer to have like the generic one from the first wave, or from that Petrodon set where he has his blue jacket, because that's what I imagine him as. But with that's 2018, and I hope it's very clear that you can see a large improvement between 2015 and 2018, and of course that happened across all themes, but because of its hiatus, it makes it very, very clear when you compare the 2 waves of what eras they were sat in. And I think when looking at the 2018 wave and watching both movies and then comparing them, it really does stand out to me that they're entirely different. Like, the 2015 sets are completely stuck in a different time. But let's track its development. The sets got much smaller after this because there were no movie tie-ins, at least until 2022, which I'm still not going to talk about today because I want to do a whole video when the other sets are revealed, and I want to gush and I want to see the dinosaurs rather than making 3 videos. It doesn't make any sense. But starting off the 2019 wave, they immediately retconned the Dilophosaurus, which, I still sort of like. I still really like the olive green colour scheme and the smaller design. I just like the bigger one and its colour scheme slightly more. However, this olive green one does work. I know it's more size accurate and stuff, but I just prefer the bigger one. I think that's nostalgia talking more than anything, but I do still like his inclusion here. We will always love our Dilophosaurus love. The big drone actually is probably one of LEGO's better big drones. I do like the way it's been constructed and having the net shooter. Figures here on point as well. Nice cheap way to get an actually good looking Owen. A park attendant, which is always useful for any theme park, and a Jurassic World logoed kid. Don't remember his name. It was like Hudson or something, I think. Oh well, doesn't matter. Having 2 of the popcorn pieces as well as these nice stickered tiles, and then the hats and the gift shop sign, brilliant. It reminds me of the end of the first movie, the Jurassic World movie, which I did love, and obviously when they hide in like the amusement stalls, and I know it's not supposed to be based around that, but I do love the idea of it being in the dinosaur's mouth. It does invoke those first movie vibes, and I think that's where my favourite of the new sets are. Whenever they do a Jurassic World set that's based off the first movie or the original movies is when I generally seem to love it more. And to me, this isn't so much a LEGO's own show set as so much as just a Jurassic World set. And I do particularly love the idea of the Indominus Rex coming soon poster. That just, perfect world building. Really, really love it. Overall, really playable, really good. Bit of a strange price, but it was off to a great start in 2019 with that one. Definitely one of my favourites out of the modern Jurassic Park World sets. I'm just going to call them whatever I want. You guys can put up with it at this point. But moving on to the Baryonyx face-off, the treasure hunt, which is a really nice concept for a set. And I wasn't expecting to like this one as much as I did when I went back, did my rewatch, did my checking out all the builds and stuff. And actually, no, this one surprised me. I still don't understand the idea of Danny Neddermeyer. They should have just not. It's weird. I don't like it because it feels like they're just trying to lean into that Nedry just a bit too much. But I can ignore it. It's only one figure out the set. Again, another Owen and Claire. Claire, for some reason, just kept her Fallen Kingdom outfits without changing back to anything. She was still running the park at this point, so it's confusing to me why she exists like this. And then, of course, you have the treasure hunter, who's just an all-right figure with an all-right dog. There's nothing really special about him. Of course, you've got all the gems and treasures in this really nice matte print. I do think that the standout build of the set is, of course, going to be that little landscaping thing. So cute, something we only usually see in Disney Princess sets, but it's a nice small build that really does work, and they did a really great job with it. Love the fish under the waterfall, and the treasure chest reveal feature is also lovely as well. And then I really wasn't expecting to like the build, like the vehicle build. However, while the caravan got worse for me, really don't like that, the Jeep got really much better. And apart from the weird use of the colour on the front with the white. See, it's not yellow anymore, but we can't escape it. Apart from the white used on the front of the truck, it's a really stellar 6-wide, Jeep? What would you even call that? Rover? I don't know, whatever you'd call it, this off-roader build, apart from the white on the front, it's stellar, really, really lovely. The fact that you can seat 2 people, excellent. Colour scheme, excellent. It's got around the right amount of colours, the right amount of busyness, and the right amount of usability outside of Jurassic World. Just get rid of the white, please, with this random colours, just stop. But then the caravan, while it's got a nice interior, it does look just trash. I mean, it could be a bit more rounded. I think that's really it. It just hasn't got that rounded thing. Caravans are, or at least cartoonishly, very rounded, and this has got some very flat walls, and that sticker really doesn't help it, I think. It just looks a bit to me. I mean, I like its inclusion. It's always great to get these weird builds in Jurassic World sets. I said this about the wall build, and then not to mention just this whole set. It's a nice different concept for Jurassic World, and I really love that. And then of course the baryonyx, introducing a new dinosaur, makes this set a must-have for any of the dinosaur fans, and one that I will probably end up reluctantly picking up. Next on my list, though, is the Triceratops Rampage, which again is another really interesting concept for a Jurassic World set, one that I really love to see. I love the idea of this whole wave being based around before the theme park got broken out of, and just having to deal with like day-to-day management and dinosaur incidents, as you call them, but not on a large murderous scale, just a herbivore bashing down its fence or getting sedated or whatever. Either way, it's really great to see the park in its prime. It was one of my favourite aspects of the movie, and there's a lot to love about this set, especially as someone that has a budding theme park, having signs such as this info sign pointing to different rides, as well as this baby Jurassic World gate. It's just adorable with the little, you can imagine it as like the front of the queue. It's so exciting. And then of course all the steps up and the queue line and the bin and things, just adorable. The return of the Simon Mizrahi figure, as well as these new characters, just like a random guy, a girl in the park, another doctor. I really don't know who she is. She's another one of those inclusions that feels a bit weird. It feels a bit unnecessary considering we had Wu. But then you also have Owen in his truck, as to be expected in a Jurassic World set. However, the stylites are here. The Triceratops coming back for the first time in almost a decade at that point was really, really cool. I like the colour scheme. It's nice and grounded, using that olive as its base. I love the fence build, once again coming back from that set in the 2018 wave. It's nice and big, and the feature once again really does stand out. It can be trampled down, really cute. I love the little flashing light on the top. It's one of those unadvertised play features that looks really nice. And then of course the main one is of course the egg ride, which is amazing. I would love to have that in a real theme park, like as in my Lego one, and it would look so cool. I'd be so pleased with that. And I love the fact that you can still lift up the incubator lid. Couple of too many stickers maybe, but I just really like the way it is and the way it's themed. It's really cute. It's really Lego. It's when I talk about coming back to this essence of fun when we're talking about our 2022 sets. This is another one of those ones where it's the perfect blend between the license and the Lego, and it's really, really nice. And that blend is also followed up by the most absurd concept we've ever had, and it's still really amazing. The T-Rex versus Dinomech battle. This probably makes this wave really, really strong, actually. The idea of having a T-Rex, but it's a mech, and in the original Jurassic Park Jeep colour schemes is awesome. Another chance to get Vic Hoskins is again great, and actually I do really like the volcano as well, with that opening play feature. I mean, it's completely unrealistic, but again it's that hidden treasure aspect that I do really love. Getting all 4 of the raptors in their baby form look absolutely adorable, including actual accurate colouring for blue, which is really nice in that more greyer colour, which is awesome. The T-Rex here, once again, is probably the best looking out of the Jurassic World T-Rexes that we've had, with that darker colour scheme again, works really well. And did I mention that the mechs are cool, with all of these mechanical details and the stripes and things, using the picks for hands, and it's got the grills in its teeth and all the hoses, and the start of the flicking tail feature, all the mud printing. There's a lot here to love. This is really, really adorable. It's a great set, really wacky again, which feels strange just because, well, when did Jurassic World sets get so wacky? I mean, we've had all these weird concepts like the Lockwood Manor, and then the treasure hunt sets, and then the park in its prime and stuff. Oh, it's great. They did a really good job in 2019. And of course, that was also wrapped up by my favourite Jurassic World set of all time, which will be the T-Rex Rampage, which was honestly just a great experience to build. I've talked about it before on the channel, so I'm not going to linger. We're going to move on to our last year for today, our penultimate year for the day, 2020, in a minute. However, there was just a lot to love here. As I talked about, you had all of those amazing figures, which sort of did invalidate the original Jurassic Park set from the 2018 wave. The dinosaur is another masterclass of technique building, and I definitely think it's better than the 2022 one that we're getting in that D2C. But again, I'll talk about that in a future video. The gates look incredible. I'm just looking up at my display of them now.
they're just so iconic and imposing, and it's great that you can put the dinosaur in between them. It works with almost any Jurassic World or park or any dino set you have. I've got my 2015 Dilophosaurus just peeking through the gate right now because I couldn't fit the T-Rex up there, and it just looks great. The figure's perfect. I love the Visionettes. I wish they were maybe a bit more developed, but at the same time, it's great. It's a wonderful, wonderful set. Probably the pinnacle of Jurassic Park, World, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I do love my play sets, but it's just a brilliant display piece. 2020 though, 2020 brought us our smallest wave, and you could tell that this could have been COVID, I guess. It was a summer-only wave. Not bad, I really don't mind it, but it gave us a lot more of the dinosaurs that we've been wanting. Particularly continuing with the almost prequel-ish theme for some of these. The Dr. Wu's Lab Baby Dinosaur breakout is really, really important because one of my favourite scenes from the original has got to be the petting zoo scene where they've all got their baby dinosaurs that they're riding, and this gave us both a baby Triceratops and a baby Ankylosaur, which is just adorable. They're the cutest things, and it's a really nice lab set out with a couple of basic breakout functions and whatever. It's nice, it's simple, it's cute, it does everything it needs to do. We had a new amber print in this set, which was great. We had some nice stickers talking over things. You have a little workbench table, and as I mentioned, a breakout function. So definitely the weakest out of the three dinosaur pen sets, but definitely much stronger in the dinosaur department as well as the features department. There's a lot going on here. Again, I like the idea of it being a prequel, and then these are just the miniature incidents in the park, oh no, there's been a power outage, so the baby Triceratops has escaped. Again, great figures. Not really sure what's going on with Owen Wise. You've got gas canisters of tranquilizer juice on his torso, but getting Wu back again was a nice inclusion, especially considering his prominence in pretty much everything else Jurassic World, Jurassic Park media. So this 2020 was off to a great start, and for those of you who don't know, 2020 has been my favourite year of modern LEGO, no nostalgia aside. It's just an incredible year of just everything really, and that continues with the other set. We'll talk about Gallimimus and Petrodon Breakout next, which was a great colour combination. I've got to get out of the way. The Jeep, it looks like it's gone back a bit, I'm not going to lie. The drones are cool, but apart from that, it does just remind me of the app-controlled Batmobile from 2017, 2018. It looks practically identical, and apart from that, there's literally nothing else I can say about it. The net shooter's all right. The inclusion of the little lab on the back reminds me of 70s classic space, and I do like that. I'd love to see if someone motorise it, because the build genuinely does look identical. Figures here look all right. Again, Claire still hasn't changed her uniform, but at least we've got our colours under control. If this had come out in 2015, it would have had 7 different colours, and the yellow is finally in check. This set does balance its yellows well, and I like the balance between the dark blue and the regular blue. It really does show that just in 5 years how much they managed to improve just their colour balancing. And I suppose after seeing the movie and knowing that this is a pre-disaster Jurassic World vehicle, seeing that combination is mostly dark blue, which the colour of the park actually is dark blue, and then the rest being the light blue accent is great. But missing the point of this set entirely. Doesn't matter what I think of the app-controlled Batmobile. The Gallimimus, a new species, again, really iconic just to the originals and the new ones. They're in so many of the movies. So many times they're getting run over by Gallimimuses in the original, and it was finally great to have him included in this set. The green Petrodon also, as I mentioned, looked great. Another unique colour for it rather than anything else, and this one does actually look like it belongs in the Jurassic World universe, or maybe that's because it's been around for so long at this point. It feels more Jurassic World than it does Dino 2013, but regardless, we're going to save the best for last. We'll go for Velociraptor Biplane Rescue Mission next, which was a 4+ set, the first Jurassic World 4+ set. Admittedly, we'd had Duplo sets before that, but I'm not really covering those. We had a nice blue Velociraptor here, obviously not blue, just a Velociraptor that was blue, which was a nice inclusion. The Treasure Hunter's back, Gas Canister Owen's back, a small biplane trike, and the other build. There's really not much to talk about. Some of the nice prints returned, so I believe that was Charlie or Echo in baby dinosaur form. You've got the Isla Nubla map, and then the Raptor. It feels a bit substandard to me, but I guess that's just because you're getting the dinosaur, you're getting the experience for cheap and whatever. I mean, it doesn't have as much attachment to some of the others because I can't initially relate something like this Velociraptor Biplane Rescue Mission to any of the movies. When you show me Dr. Wu's Baby Dino Breakout, I immediately think of the park and I think of the lab, and it attaches to me and that first movie. The same goes for some of the 2019 sets, like the egg spinning ride. It didn't actually appear in the movie, but it feels so Jurassic Park that it fits. But when you show me this could be a Dino 2013 set if you changed out Owen and the Treasure Hunter. There's no difference. It really doesn't, like, you just get rid of the logos and this is just a generic dino set. The colour schemes don't match and there's nothing I can link to, which I think is probably its biggest weakness. But I'll tell you what, there was one set that released in 2020 that definitely did provide some links that I was very chuffed with. This was a set I didn't think would ever get made. This was a 2015 wish of mine when I first played the video game. And this is, of course, the Indominus Rex versus Ankylosaurus, which, beautiful. Apart from the price was a bit over, but we did get quite a lot of good things in it. The value is still here, just it's still a bit of a pill to swallow. Like, I can accept it, it was still just a bit much. So we got pretty much everything I'd ever want in this set. Let's start off with the obvious, the blue brick separator. Come on, it is great. Moving on, figures, we'll start with the figures. We got the park attendant, Claire, Owen, and Gray and Zach. Gray and Zach, of course, actually looking correct. We actually got good torso prints for them, a good hair for Zach, short legs for Gray as well, and then a nice face print for him as well. Brilliant. That means that the 2015 wave is just getting more and more overwritten. This is their definitive inclusions, and I really like having both of them here. Owen, again, in his classic outfit, finally, again, brilliant. Stop giving me gas canisters, give me this one. Again, another reason just to not buy anything else. Claire looks good. She looks better than her 2015 range. So again, that would be the version of her I'd want because that's our iconic one. And the park ranger, although he doesn't look like the one from the scene, is still a really nice inclusion because this is basically a theme park set. And that is just another reason why this excites me. But moving on with the accessories, of course, we have another gyrosphere included with that wonderful print of one of those American comedians, I don't remember. But the print's been updated, the ball's been updated. It's a shame it can't hold two people, but I'll accept it, I'll move on. It's nice to have another gyrosphere back here. Moving on, I'm leaving the dinosaurs for now, we'll get back to those. We have this beautiful stand with the gyrosphere. This took everything they learned with the 2018 broken down one and then turned it into an actual like quality modern one, and it looks great. It's the perfect advertisement for the ride. It genuinely looks so good. It's one of those builds that just transfers so well, and I love the little fossilized dinosaur sticker at the bottom. That's really cool as well. Makes it look like that sandstone. Oh, I just love the idea of that. And then the trees. The trees are a really nice technique. They look a bit studded, but you know, it works okay. And the fact that you can knock them over with the ankylosaur is really lovely as well. Just adds to a bit of that scenery, a bit of that destruction. I would probably separate from them from the sign and like put them a bit deeper in the woods. But apart from that, perfect. And then, of course, you've got this main build, this 500-piece build, where you've got the Jurassic World gyrosphere launch station. And this is exactly how it appeared in the movie. Now, I have one, maybe two complaints. Obviously, I already mentioned about the gyrospheres, but I would have loved there to be just an insert queue division on this area. I really love that it's nice and open because obviously it's a busy ride, it's going to have a queue. But I wish rather than just leaving it as one big open square, they had snaked it, because they could have easily just built a two stud high wall, just going across, dividing it in half, and then mirroring the stair location to the other side, so that you have to go up the stairs, along, and then down along to buy your ticket and then go through a turnstile. It just would have made it feel a bit more like a theme park to me. But apart from that was really awesome. And then I just wish that the track extended just a bit further, or gave us some more scenery, so it actually felt a bit more like it was in the fields, because obviously with gyrospheres on an off-rail ride, they get pushed off and then sent out to do wherever. But I really love the use of the roller coaster track to guide it off, and that's a really, really fun play feature to actually launch it. Not to mention the actual hut thing looks perfect with all the details, and the colours are luscious. You've got the little calendar thing on the wall on the inside, you've got the screen up above watching it, and then of course the actual loading and launching feature, which just reminds me of all the other theme park sets we got in LEGO. But of course, not only did this set deliver on its concept and just including itself in just the location that I dreamed of having, but it also gave us two wonderful additions. The way I always saw this set in my head was Indominus Rex versus Ankylosaur, and we got just that. We have a newly moulded LEGO Ankylosaur, which is still exclusive to this set, in an accurate colour scheme with a tailpiece that swings backwards and forwards, and the big man himself, the dinosaur I never thought we'd see again because I never expected them to go back to this movie, an Indominus Rex in grey. It was the accurate colour, because the white one was always slightly off-putting, and this one looked so much better, and it had the silver printing, and it had it was so good. This is my favourite Jurassic World playset. It doesn't need any competition. One of the best sets they've ever made. Just it of 2020. Just it really helped that year just be amazing, and just even comparing it to the Gate, this is definitely my favourite out of the playsets. I can honestly forgive it for being overpriced. It's just wonderful. I've gushed for too long. I've talked about this set before. Moving on though. to Jurassic World 2021. Again, only 4 sets. I'm going to say COVID and the fact that the movie was supposed to come out that year, I believe. I think, maybe. I don't know. Either way, these sets were based off the Camp Cretaurus show, I think. And this made for some nice fresh material. We had some familiar faces returning, some better than others. We'll start with the 4+ set because I think that's probably one of the stronger ones. We had this lovely Jurassic Park sign. We had the old style Jeep in the 4+ style. Like, oh, people would have been so happy if that was actually built, like, not in 4+. For a 4+ set, this is definitely better than the other one. There's actual play features. There's stuff to interact with. The slide really helps. The actual fortification in the tree really helps. The little pen to capture the thing, and of course the vehicle, which you can sit in and is actually connected to the Jurassic Park universe because it is an iconic vehicle. Not to mention the fact that all of these figures and this scene is probably based off something to do with the show. So any kid that's watched the show is going to have that connection that I just don't have for not watching the show. Now, that is exactly what I said the other 4+ set was missing, because it was based off that original LEGO IP and was not really linked. But here the characters are Jurassic Park characters with the characters from the TV show and Claire. Jurassic Park scenes, I know they had a treehouse or something, I think, and Jurassic Park vehicles and play features. This is so much more playable than the other one because you've got the dino trap features. I think that just is the bottom line. Regardless, you've also got, as I mentioned, some great minifigures, some great hair pieces. The teal ankylosaur as a baby, which is adorable. It's one of the few dinosaurs which would work in teal. I think it looks great. And then, of course, you've also got the Return of the Pachy, or Stigmalock as they insist on calling it, which looks also great in this colour scheme. Still prefer the other because it looked a bit cuter, but this one still looks great and definitely dinosaur I want to pick up at some point. Just a great set over around. Speaking of great sets, the T-Rex dinosaur fossil exhibition. Look, we've been recording for over an hour at this point, and I'm doing this all in one take, and I am not giving up now. We're so close. Kudos to anyone still watching me slowly descend into madness, but this is just a theme license I was passionate about, and I wanted to do a complete breakdown, and I gushed about sets way too much. But the T-Rex dinosaur fossil exhibition is also an awesome set. Probably the best of this wave. I can credit 4+ sets as much as I like, but they're never going to hold up to actual regular sets, and this one does pretty well. Again, taking our babies from the 2020 lineup and changing them into different colours, which I still prefer slightly less, just like with the Ankylo and Stigmalock. I still prefer their originals, but the sand blue baby Triceratops also looks great. Inclusion of Owen in his actual iconic gear is great, and this is one of the better looking of the kids as well from the TV show. I think it's Darius. And then you've got this little sidecar, which is also adorable. The egg in tan works so much better than white, just all the time, although I guess this is fossilised. You've got the tooth. It reminds me of the Imagination Centre, that's not its name, the Hammond Creation Lab, the big building in the centre, not the one from the original movie, the one from Jurassic World, and I think because of that, with all of its little things, it also reminds me of Disney, actually, that's it as well. It reminds me of the digging up dino area in Animal Kingdom Disney, but off track entirely. It brings back memories. It sells so well because, again, unlike other sets, it forms those connections with stuff that I have memories of, and it looks great. The idea of having this fossil in this tubified style, like it's a fossil of the actual moulded dinosaurs, was genius. The idea of having it built and then having the moulded head was genius, and the little display pack is better. I would prefer to own this than the Dinosaurs Fossil Ideas set, and I don't care how much detailed it is, and the fact that it comes with my linked dual moulded legs, don't care. This one is so cute and so Legoized that I love it. This is, again, taking that charm. Moving on, though, we have some more sets. We had another weird vehicle here in the Carnotaurus Dinosaur Chase. Carnotaurus' return looks great. Dinosaur still looks absolutely fabulous, so that's always a benefit as well. He looks awesome. Again, Return of the Carnosaur is always going to be good, making sure we're getting our money out of those moulds. As for the vehicles, helicopter looks trash as always. What would you expect? The sides are just too studded, and the thing then just makes it just a bit too thick. I do like the printed logos, and I do like the back. I know it's supposed to be an ultralight, I think, helicopter, but there's just something about it. I think it's too many studs. Should have used the tiles instead. And then lastly, of course, you've got this. How would I even describe that? It looks simultaneously like something out the 2022 sets and something out the first movie combined with something out the second movie. Yeah, we're going to call this Jurassic Park and the Lost World truck because that's basically what it looks like to me. It looks like the hunter trucks that the guy comes with to the island to go hunt the dinosaurs to bring them back to San Diego. Regardless, it looks cool. It seems to be a well-built truck. It's suffering a bit from the Monster Truck Syndrome. It's just a bit too low, but I understand that those wheels aren't going to fit always in places, and that is definitely an example of that. And then finally, we have the Baryonyx Dinosaur Boat Escape. Definitely prefer the blue cover for a Baryonyx. Don't like the green one at all. I know it's from the show, it's iconic and whatever, but prefer the other one by a long shot. Boat actually looks pretty good. Can't argue the price here though. Price was definitely overpriced for this one. I know it's because we had a giant dinosaur and then a giant boat hull, and there's only like 300 pieces and whatever. It's no building experience here at all, but I do kind of like it. So you've got the nice like raised up area at the front. You've got this beautiful colour scheme. Like, it's actually consistent. For once, they didn't overdo it. They only included 7 yellow pieces, and I love it for that. You've got this... Oh, never mind. They put dark tan on the bridge. Why they do that? Oh, never mind. Regardless. You've got a nice little bridge section. I mean, I'm sure it's pretty small. You might have something underneath at the front, but then you've got fish, and you've got this really great area to hold the Baryonyx. Now, I'm going to go into the set page. I'm doing this on Brickset while I'm recording this, because I want to see what the dinosaur actually looks like when it's on the boat, because I think this could look really cool. This might be the best out of the dinosaur transporting vehicles. Let's see. Let's take a look. Yeah. Hands down, you could lay this dino down on that boat. It would look amazing. This is the best dinosaur transport vehicle that we've ever had. No doubt about it. It may be overpriced. It may be bad. I may not like the dinosaur collar, but I do really like the function. If you had the blue Baryonyx and it was a bit cheaper, this would be an amazing set. But overall, I'll praise it. In 5 years, we had growth. We went from overpriced and an obsession with yellow to actually being able to maintain a consistent colour scheme, as well as make a good dinosaur transport vehicle. And that is one of the few things that I can say, if we've learned anything today. They made a consistent dinosaur transport vehicle, and that is incredible. Still overpriced in some places, but they also did ramp up. I mean, it's very clear there was a great level of improvement across these Jurassic World sets, and I hope that continues, which is another reason I want to wait before we talk about this year's, because there's 7 more sets, and I hope that they're going to be good. My initial reaction, just so that you're not disappointed here at the end, is I think they're all right. Initially, I thought they were a bit weird, but they're growing on me. But we'll talk about each of them in depth in the future when I recover my voice and the rest of it. However, really solid. There's just been so much improvement. I still think that 2020 was probably the highlight year. I know I praised the 2021 stuff a lot, but I definitely think that 2021 had higher highs and more mediocrity. And I think out of those 2021 sets, at least 2 of them fall into mediocrity. The Stigmorock Dinosaur Escape is great, but it's just not got anything substantial there for an audience. I mean, it's perfect for its 4+ audience. It's one of the better 4+ sets in 2021. Something that 4+ did really well in 2021 was just existing. However, I think that it's still not as good as previous years. T-Rex Dinosaur Fossil Exhibit is one of those high highs, I think, for 2021. Carnosaur Dinosaur Chase definitely falls heavily into mediocrity. And I think the Baryonyx Dinosaur Boat Escape, I know it's justified. The value is there because you have the big boat hull and the Baryonyx. I just can't say it's a good set. It's just too expensive. There were no overly redeeming qualities, where in 2020, while the Indominus versus Ankylosaur was incredibly overpriced, there is so much value there on a personal level and on a general level. That is just different. And the other 3 sets for this wave succeeded as well. The Gallimimus and Petrodon Breakout, Dr. Wu's Baby Lab and stuff. But that's not to say that the 2019 stuff wasn't amazing as well. 2019 was a great year. We had the Gate. We had some really fun returns to parks. 2019 may be one of the stronger waves for Jurassic World overall. And I'm going to always have a nostalgia for the 2015 wave as well. It was an amazing comeback, and there's a lot to love about all of them. In particular, the Dilophosaurus outbreak attack in the 2018 wave, the Indoraptor rampage with all these wacky concepts, all the new dinosaurs that we would never have gotten if we didn't have these movies. And I just think it's really telling how much they have evolved. 2020 and 2021 were some of the better years for Jurassic World sets, but even just comparing 2018 and 2015, the difference is huge. And comparing the 2015 sets to the dino sets that came back in 2013 before them, they were again a huge step up. A unified colour scheme based off a license, some great dinosaurs, the best dinosaur cages we've ever gotten because we haven't got any since. Oh, wow. They've come such a long way, and it was such a joy rewatching the movies, buying the Gate, and taking a look back at all these sets. I'm so excited for the new movie. I'm so excited for the Jeep Wranglers in the new set as well. And I can't wait to talk about the sets with you as soon as they're revealed. I'll do the follow-up. It could be next week, could be 2 months from now. We will see. But overall, I hope someone found something about this interesting. and that you can see what I mean. The Jurassic Park 2015 sets were the cusp of an era. They were the change of the times, and I think they both suffer and are celebrated for it. But in the meantime, I will see you next time, and have a wonderful day where you don't have to listen to me talking anymore. And bye-bye.